Okay, so now I'll go straight away to this. No, it is touching on things that I would not want it to touch. I don't know why. Just a moment, just a moment. There are things I don't know. I don't want to have them showing. What do I do now? Is it the background? Just a minute. I don't think there is anything really I can do. Okay, great. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would want to take you through very simple things here. The first stuff that I would want to take you through, which you always see in questions, is as pertains the company organizational structures. So we have the simple, what we call entrepreneurial. I'll be able to show you the functional, divisional, and the matrix. To me, matrix is very good. So in talk of entrepreneurial structures, these are the most basic. They're also known as the Chinese model, where basically you have everybody reporting to one boss, and even the boss himself does a lot of work. In this Chinese model, we don't believe that we've got any single individual who should come and sit in an organization enjoying, swinging around chairs, right, as every other person works, and then they reap dividends. No. So an entrepreneurial structure, these are simple. Basically, it's a boss and the workers. They are often family owned and are not large enough to be divided into separate departments. There is often no separation of owners and managers or directors. Once a business grows, listen here, once a business grows, it normally develops into functional structure. If you can remember, ladies and gentlemen, functional structures, we are subdividing the entire organization into departments in accordance to the functions of the departments. So as such, you're going to have, for example, a department which has a functionality of sales and marketing. So sales and marketing function, sales and marketing department. We have an accounting function, an accounting department, etc., etc., right? So when we talk of functional structure, we are looking at something like this. We have MD, we have the person who is in charge of finance, according to the finance function. We have manufacturing, research and development, sales. So functional structure, this means that there are separate departments according to function. A sales and marketing department, an accounting department, a payables department, a receivables department, etc., etc. Now, functional structure, remember always the various functions of the company, and you should be able to draw this structure down very easily, very easily. From there, ladies and gentlemen, if you allow me, I'll be able to take you through what we call the divisional structure. So now we have got two divisions, for example, like at RCM, online college, we have in this case here, two divisions. We have the NEC division and the CASNEP division. And although, of course, we are not that big, but we expect to grow to that level, where, for example, if it's the NEC division, we shall have an accountant for the NEC programs, right? We have research and development, for example, for the NEC. They are independent. These divisions could be based on the various products you are offering as a company or even geographical. So we have the Mount Kenya region. We have the Mount Kenya division. We have, in this case here, for example, the Nyanza division. It can only be called a divisional, ladies and gentlemen, if each division has got its own unique functions. So we have, whenever you are asked about divisional structure, a good student will draw something like this: MD, Division A, Division B. And the Division A have like three of them. You can talk of finance function. You can talk of, for example, sales function, research and development. And Division B, you replicate the same functionalities. So when I read up here, we are being told if the business continues to grow, it may find it worthwhile to divisionalize. This means splitting the company up, perhaps on the basis of products or geography. For example, you might have a North American division and a European division. You might have a division which makes and sells paint, and you might have a division which makes and sells pharmaceuticals. So in terms of divisional structure, ladies and gentlemen, the most important thing is for you to, first of all, capture whatever structure the examiner asks you in the form of this diagram, and then now you can go ahead to explain that under divisional structure for a fully grown-up organization, it will be very important for it to divisionalize, have various divisions, which could be segmented in terms of the product. So for example, where you guys are working, you could be having like a one major product known as Coca-Cola, right? Another product in this case here, for example, known as Sprite. The moment you have various functions serving Coke as a product, and then the same functions again, of course, headed by different individuals, serving Sprite, then know that this company has been departmentalized in terms of what here? Products, in terms of products. So the most important thing is for you to pick really this, and then if you allow me, I'll also be able to explain matrix. If I'm the one, whenever they talk about matrix, I'll always remember that matrix that I was taught in quantitative analysis, which are the rows and the columns. So under matrix based, ladies and gentlemen, you can see we have got these rows and the columns, and then you will have an individual here. This individual will have two managers. We have manager on top here. For example, this could be quality control department. This could be the department that is under. So the manager in charge of this department, like the finance department. And then, of course, the same guys will be reporting to some project managers. So whenever we talk of a matrix based, you'll have to draw something like this. We are being told here that a matrix organization is more complex. A good way to think of a matrix organization is to think of a project team. A project team for project A, for example, will have a project leader or manager for project A. The members of the team report to this manager, but the members of the team also have functional responsibilities like accountants. So for example, there'll be a project accountant and someone who looks after the quality control aspects of the project, perhaps someone who deals with personnel involved in the project. So ladies and gentlemen, whenever they talk over matrix-based, remember matrix has got a row, column. So under matrix-based structure, an employee will be having two managers. You'll be having your own departmental manager, like the finance manager. And then, of course, as we said in the other class, that normally projects borrow resources from various departments. So if you have borrowed you as a resource to project A, it means that as well, you'll be reporting to PM of this project here. So at the end of, for example, every week, you'll be doing reports to your departmental manager, and you should also be doing reports to your project manager. So you're reporting to two people. And that is very important, especially for big organizations that would want to utilize their employees maximally. Always ensure that you have everybody reporting to more than one manager. That is called a matrix-based structure. Are we together up to there? 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 Omar is saying yes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you allow me, then I will be able to skip to something very important here. If you allow me, I'll be able to skip to something very important here. Mintzberg, not Mintzberg. Mintzberg, I'll come to Mintzberg later. Like these levels are very important, strategic, tactical, but I'll come to them later. Not now, not now. Now the thing that I would want to do is found on page number 75. It's found on page number 75. The Tuckman is a beautiful model there. Our team committees, very good stuff. These are very highly summarized room expectancy theory, very common in your exams. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, very important. I know you know this very well. I know you know this very well. I'll not be talking about here. We have Philip Cotter, 𝒂𝒄𝒂𝒍, the guy in charge of transformational leadership, like the one that came last semester. Action-centered. Blake and Morton's managerial grid. Have you ever heard of this? Blake and Morton's managerial grid. Have you guys ever heard of that? Have you guys ever heard of that? You guys are not talking to me. You're not talking to me. I don't know why. You're not talking to me. I don't know why. Peter Drucker. Human relations, that's Elton Mayo. Taylor, the father of scientific management. Fayol, he gave us 5 functions of management. Yes, here is where I am. Great. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would want us to start laying the base today. And I would want us to talk about management. So basically, management is the science or art of getting things done through other people. A good manager knows how to delegate. A good manager, ladies and gentlemen, appreciates the role of what here, role of people in doing things on his behalf, right? And that is why we are repeating it, that management implies that you are in some way organizing what other people are doing. And indeed, the idea of organizing should make us consider what's meant by an organization. An organization is a social arrangement with controlled performance of collective goals. Where I work, we have key performance indicators that everybody is given, right? Which we will need to meet. By the end of the year, when we will be appraising your performance, we'll be talking of KPIs. So when we talk of an organization, we're not looking at the building really. When we talk of an organization, we're looking at social. Social, we're looking at human beings who are being given, in this case here, what here? Targets, right? And of course, for them to be able to meet these targets, we are saying that the concept of them being controlled, we must have a manager who is authoritative, really, who is respected. So controlled. And remember, these employees are many. We work with teams. So you're talking of collective. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the thing that I would want to really discuss with you here starts from note 2 here. Trait theory. Remember what trait theory talks about. It talks about something very important, that there are people who have got innate management skills that they were born with to lead, right? They've got traits. So for example, according to traits theory, they say that generally good managers tend to be taller, right? Of course, that is debatable, isn't it? Debatable. Traits theory, right? They are good communicators. They know how to inspire others. You don't even have to have gone to anybody's school to become what here, a good leader. That's traits theory. That there are some inborn skills that you have as a good leader that are able to make you inspire people to follow you. But now, of course, that is still debatable because we have got very many people, short people like, for example, who? Short people like Hitler. Hitler was a short man, but he was able to command a lot of respect. He was able to, in this case here, inspire people to go into destroying themselves, right? Right? So when you talk of traits theory, much of the discussion of management concerns what makes a good manager and what activities good managers should actually undertake. One of the earliest theories is known as trait theory. Here, the hope was that we could perhaps spot who will be a good manager through certain other traits that they might possess, such as intelligence, initiative, self-assurance, confidence, that is, even how tall the person was. This never really never got very far. It was too subjective. For example, how would you balance intelligence versus charisma? There are people who are very intelligent, but they can't speak even to 2 people. They have their own knowledge that they cannot transfer to anybody. Many good leaders are tall, but then leaders such as Napoleon and many others who are rather small and who are perhaps compensating. Have you ever heard of what we call short man syndrome? Is there anybody who has ever heard of a short man syndrome? That they have quite a lot of things that they can do, to compensate for being short. I'm short, but I don't have that syndrome. I don't have that syndrome. Thank you. Great. Now, trade theory was really a dead end. It proved to be no good whatsoever by predicting who good managers might be. But ladies and gentlemen, this trade theory, I've seen it in a case study, but not CPA. You know, for example, and this is quite a sad thing, that if you go to like some of these like big organizations, banks, get, for example, female leaders, you'll get that the female leaders who are there, for example, they're quite all beautiful. And then now you'll get people saying that trade theory should not really be taken as to be something that can be used to assess. That's good, something good for discussion, but I shall bring it later on, especially after you pass your leadership and management. Now, so that is it. So we go to Henry Fayol. Henry Fayol, I love this guy. This guy is credited with 2 contributions to management. Henry Fayol is the one who gave us 14 principles of management. Are you able to remember the acronym that I normally give you every day? The 14 principles of management. Are you able to remember the 14 principles of management that was given to us by Henry Fayol? Is there anybody who can remember that acronym? DAD something, DAD something, DAD something, DAD, you see, USSR. Oh, I see. Yes, thank you very much, Elizabeth. And you should be able to know what each of these, you should be able to know each of these acronym, what it stand, acronym letter, what they stand for. Like D, disciplined workers, authoritative managers. The other D, for example, division of labor, that you would need to have your employees highly specialized for productivity to go up, right? We have in this case here, DAD, you see, USSR, that R there stands for remuneration. Then we have got an O somewhere. O stands for order. Any company that is doing very well financially, that is doing quite optimally in terms of productivity, will always have a lot of order. So we know where to find whatever is being looked for. We have good, strong internal control systems. Order must be there. Then we have a spirit de corps, the concept of teamwork. Good companies will always ensure that the noise within the organization, is done what is reduced. And that is why I work with some Swedish people. If you do a mistake and badmouth somebody, right, what that person will do, they'll go and write whatever you are right or you are telling them. They copy you, and then of course they put the person you are speaking ill about right away, because they would want an open thing. So they'll call you, for example, at the boardroom and tell you, now tell us what you are telling this guy, right? Like, and then our discussion starts from there. And then of course they'll find a way of reconciling the two of you. The thing is, when we have toxicity at the workplace, things can never, ever move forward. We need to find a way of reducing toxicity, animosity between employees, animosity between employees. So in this case here, Spirit de Corps, take these people to Mombasa, have them in this case here putting on some tires, they're swinging here, left and right and center, they're dancing like that. Okay, so perhaps somebody can write for Gladys Matara there what the acronym means, because I'm here really to give you high level training. Don't want to go into, but I know most of you guys have this acronym. You can help this lady. You can just type for her. Then the other thing, ladies and gentlemen, here that Henry Fayol gave us is what we call the concept of classical management. He gave us 5 key functions, what we normally call the famous POCC, that a good manager should be able to plan things in advance. We must be very good in organizing. We must be very good in commanding, coordinating, controlling. Of course, we have got these other functions like communicating, staffing, but remember, Henry Fayol told us that there must be a commander, there must be a leader. When they say, in this case here, hey, up, people should be able to stand up and say, yes, up, like in the military, like that. Right? So there must be a commander there, very important. So we must be very good in planning for logistics. Planning logistics. If, for example, it is armed forces, we are taking to KDF, or rather KDF, we are taking to Congo. We don't just wake up like this. We must plan. For example, what will these guys be eating? How will the situation there be like? We must send people ahead there to go and survey the environment for us. So we come up with a plan of work, This day we shall do this. This day we shall wake up at this time. And you know, if there is any organization that does a lot of planning, is the military. Because they know a simple mistake, like the one of Elade. You know, Elade, it was a very simple mistake. A battalion of 180 soldiers, 160 of them were butchered to death. And the other 20, most of them have never really come to terms up to now, because they were really, they're not okay medically. So a single mistake like this can really cost the army, right? And that is why, especially whenever they are outside there, like in Somalia, they are not allowed to take beer like that. But when I speak to some people, because I have some friends that I normally talk to, there was a mistake that they did at Elade, which really cost them dearly. Because the enemy had really come very close. So meaning that the people who are in those top towers were asleep. They took things for granted. So a good manager should be able to plan. A good manager should be very good at organizing, coming up with that organizational structure, for example, knowing who is to report to who, knowing how departments will collaborate. A good manager should be able to lead the team, command. You should be able to coordinate and, of course, control to ensure that the actual goes as per the plan. So you should be able to read this to understand here. And then we have Taylor, the father of scientific management. This American guy, I love this American guy. Please allow me to go through this. We are told here Frederick Taylor was an American who developed his theories of scientific management in the late 1800s, a long time ago. He was the first man who deemed work deserving of systematic observation and study. You must remember that really until the late 1800s, most businesses had been relatively small, often consisting of one or two people, perhaps within a family, making use of individual crafts and skills. As businesses grew in size until Taylor came along, no one thought that employees should be told how to do something. That was simply not thought to be a function of management. Taylor said that it is a function of management to study work, to develop a science of work, and from that to work out how jobs could be designed so that they could be carried out efficiently. This could allow employees to earn more. Rule of thumb: methods should be replaced by methods based on scientific study of the tasks. Scientifically select, train, and develop each employee rather than letting them train themselves. Provide detailed instructions and supervision of each worker. Divide work nearly equal between managers and workers so that the managers apply scientific management principles to plan the work that the workers have to actually carry out. Inevitably, this led to task specialization, which is basically the classic production line, because it was discovered that one of the most efficient ways of carrying out work was to do a relatively simple task over and over again. In later life, Taylor was criticized for dehumanizing work. If you can remember, ladies and gentlemen, what Taylor said that these employees, all of them, should be paid piece rate. Piece rate means if it's bricks, 1 brick, we give you 10 bob. And you should never put a limit to your earnings. So if you go ahead and do 1,000 bricks, we should need to pay you for all the bricks. But of course, if you do so many of them, you'll end up dying or becoming sick. And according to Taylor, that was none of his business. What he was after was productivity. And that is why he was heavily criticized for dehumanizing the entire production process. So he was not keen on the individuals. But the good thing is that he spoke about is that we will need to do everything scientifically. How do we recruit? A scientific process. The training, scientific, science. Remember, he did what we call the time motion studies. I'll come back to him, especially when I look at past paper questions. we have very many past paper questions talking about this. So potential benefits arising from Taylorism: increase in productivity, fair and a higher wage allocation based on output. Those workers who are strong were able to earn a lot of money because it was piece rate. Workforce care programs, because if you didn't care for your workforce, you have to waste money through additional recruitment, training, and inefficiencies. On the downside, it had a great capacity for dehumanizing work, where people were simply seen as tools of production. We're not having any other look on these guys. They just came to work to the organization to work and work and work, nothing else. Then we have human relations. This is for this guy called Elton Mayo. Around 1935, Elton Mayo carried out a very important series of experiments at the Houghton plant of the Western Electric Company. In one of these experiments, he divided the department into two. Half of the workers were the control group, but for the other half, he varied the lighting, sometimes making it better, sometimes worse. He then asked those employees what lighting they preferred and what suggestions they might have for improving it. Much to his surprise, he discovered that whether or not lighting was increased or decreased, the productivity of the people in the experimental group went up, even if you decrease the lighting. Even if you decrease the lighting, the productivity of these guys in the experimental group went up. The conclusion from this experiment was that by making these people feel special, asking them questions, what would you want to do today? Participative style of management, by asking their opinions, by asking for suggestions, they were motivated. They enjoyed being treated as individuals, as people, rather than simply being told what to do. This led to what was called a human relations school, in recognition that there is more to good management than simply planning, organizing, controlling, coordinating, and communicating. The second part of this study dealt with groups. Management had tried to increase productivity by offering people higher wages and was surprised to discover that their productivity did not increase. So whenever you talk of Elton Mayo, and especially for those of you who normally read Business Daily, if you read Business Daily, you will see the other year, Safaricom introduced this section where if, for example, you have just given birth, you can go after your maternity leave with your young kid to Safaricom headquarters as you're working. These guys have facilities there, right? So you'll get somebody saying, yes, even if Safaricom doesn't pay very well, perhaps they're paying 150, 200,000 for a senior role as an accountant. So long as I'm thinking about getting kids, I would rather work there forever. But once in this case here, I finish on this segment of making babies, then I can look at that. It's about human relations. Don't take people as if people are just tools. Like I know of some companies, I'm sorry to quote this, Equity Bank, a lady gives birth like this, they expect you to go to the workplace exactly after how many months? 2. Unapata hawana zile rooms za kama maziwa. So ile concept ya human relations, unapata hawana, wako chini sana. So at the end of the day, according to Elton Mayo, then don't expect good productivity, and yet you're not looking at how are you relating with these individuals? How are you relating with these individuals? Yeah, like nursing room, wengi hawana, like that. So when we talk of Elton Mayo, ladies and gentlemen, we shall be looking at School of what here? Human relations, School of Human Relations. I think I'm speaking too fast, but in some way, are we able to follow? In some way, are we able to follow? Are we able to follow? Because, you know, it's a high level, because there is nobody who will test you like word by word. I've taught LM for so long. I know there is nobody who will test you word by word in terms of what is in your books. Nobody. It's general level. When you go and get a case question, you should be able to argue. You should be able to say, like, for example, what we saw in last semester's exam, where we had a governor, instead of involving other people in the organization, that governor, if you did the last semester's exam, Remember the governor. Do you remember that governor? Mpenda pesa. But mpenda kazi alikuwa mpenda pesa. Do you remember that story of that governor? Who was he consulting? The wife. And the wife is not an employee of the county government. Is the same happening right now in Kakamega County? Remember Kakamega County, we saw people making a lot of noise. Why? Because the first lady of Kakamega County was having a house, not a house, but an office being built for her. Right? Coercive, yes. Right? All right. And remember now, these employees would want to be involved. So I would want to see you guys quoting this kind of people that I'm telling you, involve workers, have the Elton Mayo, involve workers, etc, 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 etc. Now the last one for today, because we said you guys are not looking for students for me, then I should not be able to teach you so much. The last one for today, the one that I would want to look at today. Yes, like the style theory is very important. I want you to go and look at this, but this Peter Drucker is a very important concept. So first, Peter Drucker, who stated that management has three functions. You have to manage a business. You as a CEO, as the owner of this business, you must manage other managers. And then you must manage the workers and the work. According to Drucker, the moment you as an owner, you lose track, right, with the workers, you say that, you know what, I've now delegated this management to, no. As the owners, it will be very important, according to Peter Drucker. He may not be very right on this, but according to him, first of all, it's about you to manage the entire business. It's your business. Number two, you have to manage the managers who are there. And then number three, you must know that the overall responsibility of managing the workers and the work itself still rests on you. You cannot delegate. Even if you delegate, just know that those things are still yours. Because even the managers that you're employing in this company, what do you think of conflict of interest? Can those managers here give you 100% of their time? Can they give you 100% of their time? Even me, I don't give 100% where I work, and I really try. There'll always be conflict of interest, right? There'll always be conflict of interest. So according to Peter Drucker, when they mention of Peter Drucker, it must be like how they say, Africa is our business. If you look at the most successful businessmen, trust you me, if you go and ask them about a particular bolt, where is it? They know. They know. Even the little things, like where I work, the owner is a very serious guy in terms of business. You always get him by passing you at, and you may feel bad, and he'll tell you, no, I have a responsibility. He bypasses you, he goes to your employees and talks to them. He doesn't give them instructions, but he would just want to be collecting like data and be told exactly what is happening. You know, it's only here in Africa where we don't take our businesses very seriously. Linda is saying micro managing. So according to Peter, according to Linda is saying, according to her, Peter Drucker, it's micromanagement. I would want to differ. And I would want to explain why. He broke this down into 5 categories of activity. Drucker said that a manager's activities consist of setting objectives, working with groups, motivating and communicating, measuring performance through KPIs, and developing people. There are 2 important additions here to what Fayol suggested. First, Drucker said that motivation is a very important part of management. And secondly, developing people is also important. So they feel fulfilled, that they are growing, that they are gaining new skills, that they are achieving their maximum potential. Really, the rest of the list isn't very much on what Fayol suggested about planning, organizing, controlling, coordinating, and communication. So, ladies and gentlemen, if somebody tells you to talk about Peter Drucker in a minute, what will you talk about him? Peter Drucker's concepts. Peter Drucker's concepts, what do you in a minute? And the question is, will you be able to know how to apply them, for example, in a case question? I hope they're writing something. Manage the business. The manager should manage other managers. other managers, and then you must manage work, etc. You are the center of the business, yes. You are the center of the business. If, for example, you go to like Ranalo, is it Ranalo or Ronaldo? This guy who makes very good fish along Kimathi Street. Right? This guy really knows his business. He's ever there. His presence is what makes the business. Right? Although they did something stupid just the other day, very stupid. I don't know what normally happens with men when we reach about 50 years, when we are almost succeeding. Remember, they were fighting for a very young lady, university lady, with a colleague of his, right? And the guy was shot right on the stomach, right? And since that time, his business has never been the same. The wife ran away, right? It's management. Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to management, you must be very forthright. You must be there. There is a business you have to run, right? Integrity is key. So remember, we are offering these leadership and management classes at Kenya shillings 1,000. Kenya shillings 1,000. I expect you guys now to start paying. Number 2, don't forget our Excel. December 10th Excel classes, the combo Excel classes, where we shall be teaching Excel, Power BI, R, and others. It's quite a serious program. There is no way you can tell me that you are an accountant if you don't know what Power BI is. You know, most of us keep on complaining that, you know what, you're not being paid very well, but at the end of the day, it is the skills that you guys have. If I were you, I would really take seriously these analytical skills. I would take very seriously my ability to communicate, and communicate well. We must be good, not even in terms of proficiency in English, but the boldness. You must be very bold. You must be very confident. Like myself, I'm so sure what normally makes me shine. In most cases, it's my confidence. You know, you can wake up at any time, wake me up at any time, even in church, right? Tell me, do whatever, right? Wherever, I'll be able to sustain a debate, even for 5 minutes. Most accountants hamwezi, inakuwa international disaster. And that is why, if possible, we should also introduce public speaking classes for accountants. Public speaking classes for accountants, where we show them, for example, how do you produce good PowerPoint slides, and how do you speak through them? Because at the end of the day, also, you must know how to introduce humor to your speech. Most accountants do not, I mean, they are never humorous. You guys, you miss out on so many things. So somebody will go like the PwC auditors who are giving a report about Safaricom's, auditor's report. So somebody comes and reads through, no. If I'm the one, I'll be able to joke with these people in a way that everybody from there, they may not even remember. They may not even remember what other people spoke about, right? They'll have to remember what I spoke about, because number 1, I know what we call tone variation. I know when to speak very fast. I know, like these good pastors, when to whisper and when to shout, like that, and use some bad examples in between. Use some bad examples. But at the end of the day, if you know how to speak and speak well, you will command the market. You will command the market. You will command the market. Otherwise, for today, I think whatever I've done, I've given justice, and you're not going home with nothing. You're not going home with nothing. If you'd want to make any inquiries regarding our products, don't forget our number is 0719 525,000. 0719 525,000. Otherwise, thank you very much. How much for advanced Excel? Advanced Excel, please call that number. I don't have the figures now. Call that number, 0719 525,000. 0719 525,000. Yes, I'll send this particular book to the paid group. So you must also strive to be in the paid group by paying the 1,000 only for leadership. That's very good. And then, of course, encourage. I would want to teach big numbers. And there is no now free class next time. All students must be paid. Thanks. Bye. Be blessed.